All right, today is March 30, 2018. This is the meeting of the CSI implementation group for Kubernetes, and we should be pretty much wrapped up on the work for this quarter for Kubernetes 1.10 and CSI 0.2. So let's go ahead and do a end of quarter review. And then on Monday, we could do planning for Q2. And then we can take the rest of that week, cancel the meetings, and then reconvene the subsequent week for the next quarter. So PRs that need attention. There were a couple of PRs from Felipe, and looks like they've gotten merged, so that looks good. We'll go ahead and mark that as green. Cool. There was an outstanding item here for Luis to review the test, or actually test the documentation. Looks like Luis wasn't able to be with us today. We can poke him offline to see if he got a chance to do this. And this was green last time, so we can stop tracking that. Bugs, this was documentation fixes. We went ahead and finished that. Jan CSI work, I believe, is still outstanding. We're going to have to follow up on that next week, hopefully when Jan is back. If he's not back by next week, then we should have somebody take over his PR and see if we could get it merged. Okay, and then connection timeout issue. Sergey was doing a lot of work on this. I saw a PR come out from him. I guess it's this one here. Sergey, do you want to talk about this?
Right. So actually, there were two enhancements to the external provisioner. One of them is already merged, and what it does is basically it makes external provisioner more atomic, meaning that it doesn't keep a state of the driver. Because originally, when the provisioner was starting up, it was getting the driver CSI driver name and storing it. And it's wrong because if the driver dies and restarts with a different name, so we have a stale driver name.
Mm-hmm.
So the first PR addressed that. It also added basically infinite timer to wait for the driver to come up. So even if the driver fails, it will reattempt to connect.
And that went in a while ago, right?
Yeah, a week ago or so. And the second PR I was I pushed, it's addressing two things: the persistent naming for the PV we create, and the second, it introduced the exponential backoff. So if by some reason driver cannot create a volume within 10 seconds, which is the default timeout, then before it was just failing. And then it would reattempt after a certain period of time. And since we were generating the dynamic names, then we end up with a bunch of different names. The last one would be successful because eventually driver will create a volume, but all others would be orphaned. So right now, what it does, so there are now two timers. One, it's set up by the context, and it's still that 10 seconds. And then if it fails with the context deadline limit or something, I don't remember exactly the error, then the second timer kicks in, which is the exponential backoff timer. And it will retry the same operation again. and it will retry several times, which will and the total, I mean, I cannot exactly provide the number, but it's around 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes, it will try and try and try and try. If it succeeds, perfect. So we will have a single name and we'll have the positive result. If it fails, well, then basically the create volume will report upstream, I couldn't create a volume. So, and I tested it, I kind of rigged the host path, and I added like 120 seconds timer before the path gets created. So kind of simulating the long create volume operation. And I see in the log that a provisioner retries multiple times. And it basically does what it's supposed to be doing. But I discovered one thing though. I discovered that the driver side, it needs to be adjusted. And I have a separate PR which I didn't push for the host path, where I need to track the state of the volume, and if it's not ready, then I don't have to create a volume again. I just need to wait again until the previous operation completes.
So basically on the driver's side, you need to make sure that if there's a already pending operation, you just reuse that instead of creating a new one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And the solution I selected probably is not most efficient, so I would really appreciate like some feedback from a more experienced guys like you and Vlad and Luis. It's not here. I will push that PR soon, just to see maybe there is a better way to do it.
I have a question, Sergey.
Sure.
If the first operation is pending, and then the provisioner retries, and then so the second operation then will see that the first operation is pending. I think according to the spec, then the second operation is supposed to return success, right? Then is that going to be a problem where the provisioner then receives a success from the driver, even though the operation is still pending and may not complete?
Wait, why would the...
It cannot return success. The volume is not ready.
Right.
Are they second? Hold on, let me check the spec real quick.
It sounds like the discussion is about idempotency. Okay.
Yeah, the second call should block until the operation for that volume is completed.
Yeah, sorry, I was incorrect. It's actually the second one will return aborted, according to the spec.
It will return aborted if, in what case?
Condition operation pending for volume, gRPC code 10 aborted, indicates that there's an operation pending.
Saad, remember I asked you exactly the same question and you explained me.
Yeah. So the purpose of this error code is not to say that there is a in-flight operation for the same volume. It's for a different, it's not the same operation for the same volume. It's a different operation for the same volume. So if you issue, for example, a controller publish operation, and that results in a backend attach operation, and then you lose state on your client side, on the CO side, and you immediately call controller unpublish, then the controller unpublish, the CSI driver can return aborted because there is already a operation which is not detached that's already pending for that operation. If you have an operation like create volume and we follow up with a create volume call, it should just return whatever the result of that original create volume call is, not aborted.
Even if the operation is still pending from the first one?
Exactly, because the first one, it just picks up from the first one. So it's up to the plugin how it handles it. After the first connection terminates, it could decide that it terminates, or it could leave it open, and then if the second request comes, pick it up. and return the result of it. But this aborted thing is only if there was a different operation for the same volume that was already pending. So if you had like a create volume that's pending, and then you issue a delete, then you can return aborted because there's already a create that hasn't finished yet, so you can't delete. Or you started an attach, and somebody asks you to detach, or there's a detach pending, and someone asks you to do an attach, you can return aborting. But if it's the same operation, you are trying to attach a volume, and then you issue another attach volume, that's idempotent. That should return success, not aborted.
Okay, but the second call should only return success when the first call is successful?
Correct.
Okay, I think we need to clarify the description and the spec a little bit.
I would be open to that. I think Sergey pointed out the same issue in the confusion in the spec. So if you could open a PR and issue against the spec to clarify that, I would help get that approved.
Okay, could you write a note in the agenda, and then I can hop on that.
Okay, so that one I'll give to you. Do you want to work on that, or?
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect. Thank you. That sounds good. I will take another pass at this PR. Sergey, I think my big open questions around this are, I don't think that the provisioner should ever give up as long as the volume attachment, or sorry, the PVC object exists, we should continue to retry. But the thing is that we do have to return a status to the original object at some point. And I think the 5-minute thing makes sense there. We might need I'm not certain what the other provisioners are doing in this case. Like, do they continue to retry after failure or not?
Actually, since we are using the same provisioner code that from Kubernetes incubator,
Yep.
so I saw that it actually does. There's a third timer.
Okay.
There's a third exponential backoff, and it retries the operation even if it fails within 5 minutes.
Oh,
so
okay.
like we have 3 levels now.
Perfect. That's what we want.
And I also confirmed that the external provisioner, the one we're using, uses Go routines, so there's no blocking for other requests.
Got it. And then the other comment would be the time for the first timeout. I think order of seconds is too short. Even 10 seconds is too short. I think we should wait for like a create volume call for at least 1 minute. And then if that fails, then fall back to all of this. Since it's on a separate thread, it doesn't really block us. So waiting for a minute is not a problem. We can probably even wait for 5 minutes. But I guess we want to give an error back to the end user. So I think waiting for a minute would be okay.
Sure. Yeah, the 10 seconds was like the default timeout for pretty much everything we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely change that.
Yeah. Okay. And we should get Jan and Brad to review this too. Comment Jan. Brad. All right, cool. This is going to be great. I think this is one of the components that is the most flaky right now. So I'm looking forward to getting this more stable. I wonder if, yeah, actually, no, never mind. All right, moving on. CSI end-to-end tests failing on GKE. David, I believe you started taking a look at this and you sent out a PR.
Yeah, it should be linked in the issue. Basically, what I did was split up the cluster roles required by the three external components into separate cluster roles, and kind of minimize them to the minimal amount of permissions that each object needed. And I also had to remove secrets from the provisioner one. So basically, when you deploy a new CSI driver, you can use these built-in policies now. But if your provisioner requires secrets, you'll have to add an extra policy for that. And if you require any extras, then you'll have to add new policies for that too. But if you are modifying the provisioner, attacher, or driver registrar to require more API permissions, I would recommend also in like a linked PR or something to modify these kind of default cluster roles.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great.
And I think Jordan Liggett has been reviewing it a lot, and I think he's fairly happy with it now. So we'll hopefully get this in today.
Okay. And this does mean that the YAML files that we have for the external drivers should be updated instead of creating these roles. If they don't need custom roles, to just reuse these.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's put that as a to-do. External or CSI drivers should use these new pre-installed
Very cool.
roles if instead of unless they require secret access. Cool. CSI end-to-end test occasionally flakes. So I believe this was the dependency on the timeout fix, which is still pending. And finally, there was a issue reported by an external user that Sergey was helping to investigate. Looks like this has been closed. Sergey, did you get to the bottom of what he was running into? Sergey, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I had trouble unmuting myself. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
basically it was an issue on his side. He was using the stale vendor folder, and after he updated and rebuilt the image, everything is fine now.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sergey, for investigating that.
Sure.
Awesome. Any other updates anybody has that they want to add? Okay, so I'm gonna say, so Monday meeting, we will do planning for 1.11 and Q2. And if you are interested in volunteering to work on CSI for Q2, please add name below. So go ahead and add your name there if you're interested in volunteering.
Okay.
And put your GitHub ID too. That way we can get an idea of who's interested in volunteering and we can help load balance the work. And then we'll skip Tuesday and Friday meetings next week and reconvene the following week. All right, and then finally, just going to run through the remaining tasks really quickly. The blog post is out. I think the only outstanding item here was to make sure that if you have helped with this release, that your name is in the blog post. At the bottom, if it's not, please ping me or directly edit the document, and we'll make sure your names get added there. You've all done a tremendous amount of work, and I want to make sure it's recognized. So beyond that, the CSI components, the drivers that need to be updated, Chakri posted an update. He says that he sent out a review for the Flex adapter, but he's having some issues with the iSCSI one, and I guess that'll be a work in progress. Okay. So we'll probably go ahead and just pick up that work for next week for next quarter. And then permanent home for NFS and Cinder. I sent out a message earlier this week about the home for Cinder. Since it's part of Kubernetes, I'm not sure whether that's the right place. I think OpenStack still believes that that's the right place because OpenStack uses a different model for open source that's difficult to operate in. So I think it'll end up remaining where it is, and I'm okay with that. I haven't heard back from Brad on the permanent home for NFS yet, so that'll be something we move to next quarter. Same thing on the AWS driver. And then once those things are settled, we can go ahead and start splitting up the drivers repo in Kubernetes CSI. The external components, does anybody know if Luis got around to cutting these branches? Let's take a look real quick just to verify. So if we take a look at external provisioner, okay, so it doesn't look like he got a chance to cut the releases. Let's poke him and see if he plans to do that anytime soon. Documentation's complete. End-to-end testing is looking good. GCPD test, we're going to move to next quarter. Move to CSI spec repo. I spoke with some of the CSI approvers, and there was some pushback on having a separate repo for CSI Sanity. They thought that it might actually be better to keep it in the same repo and be okay with leaving it in a broken state after folks merge in changes to the spec and then having the changes go in a separate PR. That discussion is, I believe, Luis is going to create a thread to carry that on in the CSI community. I talked to him yesterday, and that was the plan. So we'll follow up there. The drivers that need tests, GCE, PD already consume CSI Sanity, host path already consume CSI Sanity. Flex volume and iSCSI need to be updated. We don't have owners for the other ones. We can pick that up in the future. For the GCE PD one, David, do you have any immediate plans to add CI?
Yeah, I'm actually currently working on it now. But the CI at the start will probably only run CSI Sanity because I haven't actually written any E2E tests yet.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That would be great. All right, thanks. That is it. We will reconvene on Monday, and Also, if you have been keeping track of a list of items for next quarter, please go ahead and populate them here. Let's call it wish list for Q2. I know I have block volume support. I have topology support. Anything else you guys can think of off the top of your head? If not, just go ahead and add it offline.
Device.
Device plugin.
Yeah, device plugin.
Snapshot.
Snapshot. Device plugin integration kubelet. Okay. And please go ahead and add more items to the wish list and add your name if you're going to be working on this in the next quarter. And I'll see you on Monday. All right. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.